Good evening, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here tonight and advocate for what I believe to be a very necessary and important change in our educational system. So I will start by offering a quick definition on the term neurodiversity so that we're all on the same page on what it means. And it includes people who think, feel, and function in unique ways. And sometimes they are people who have a specific diagnosis, like ADHD, autism, or dyslexia. But it also includes people who struggle fitting in the traditional educational system or the traditional work environment, and often they don't even know why. So you may be wondering, what is a professor of engineering doing here talking to you about neurodiversity? And that's certainly a legitimate question. So part of the answer is that I'm the director of a program at UConn that is funded by the National Science Foundation and that aims at transforming engineering education and encouraging all types of learners and thinkers to engage in engineering innovation. But a more important part of the answer is that, like many of you, I know somebody who is neurodiverse, and I have seen what being part of a rigid educational system does to a person like that. So my brother is dyslexic, and 35 years ago, when he entered first grade, he didn't have a diagnosis or access to a support system. And for the next 12 years, I watched him struggle and my parents spend countless hours with homeworks and exams, and have a great difficulty until, he graduated high school. And during those times, I also watched and saw that my parents didn't speak to anyone about this. Such was the stigma associated, with a learning difference. And sorry. This was at the time, people where you were either smart and good in school or dumb and bad in school. There were no other reasons, that people had like different performance. And since then, 30 years later, we have made some progress. And students who struggle in school receive different supports. They have special aid teachers, accommodations, and so on. But they also still receive labels, such as, usually starting with D, dysfunction, disability, disorder. So we tell these kids early on in life that the way that they think and they feel does not meet the standards and requires remediation. And that, really forms someone's psyche, from very early on. Recently, I had a conversation with a former student of mine who is autistic, and I asked them if they perceive autism to be a disability. And they said, the way that society currently functions, it is a disability. And that is a very profound distinction. Like, if disability is not a property of the individual, it is a condition of a society that puts a person at a disadvantage because of a particular trait that they possess. And so if we really understand that distinction, then our mandate is clear. We need to change the system so that differences do not become disabilities. So let's do a little thought experiment. So who here has seen the movie Forrest Gump? Okay, most of you, good. So take a minute and thinking back of the movie, come up with a short description of Forrest Gump based on the things that he wasn't good at, the things that he couldn't really do. Okay? So now clear that from your mind and think back to the movie and come up with another description based on the things that Forrest Gump was great at, the things that he excelled in and the successes that he had in his life. And so thinking, imagine that he was your child And what kind of school would you send your child based on the first description that you came up with? And what kind of school would you send him based on the second description? So we want school to be a place where every child, teenager, and young adult feels like the person in the second description. We want the school to be a place where students find their unique strengths and figure out a way to make the most out of those strengths and be the best version of themselves. So the way to do this is to start by looking for strengths in children and students, not for weaknesses. And for us as educators, we want to be that teacher who helped someone and change their lives, by helping them discover their unique strength and cultivating their gift. We also want to provide our students with multiple opportunities to explore the material in our classrooms, to engage in different kinds of assessment, different kinds of learning materials, and to be creative, not just do what we tell them to do. And I know that takes a lot of work, and most of us, teachers and educators, are already strapped thin. So I'm not pretending to have all the answers on how to do this, but I do know that you see this every day in the classroom. You see the students who struggle with exams, struggle with papers, but they do wonders when they can create something with their hands, when they can write code, when they can recite something for memory, whatever it is, that their own particular strength is. So, hopefully, one day there will be a way when we can bring this, into the classroom. What if we could do this for biology, for history, for physics in different ways? What if our students didn't have to take standardized tests anymore? What if we didn't need paperwork to be able to provide support to the students that need it? So I know that this is not going to happen overnight. And, for you students at the school, things are probably not going to change as long as you're in high school and probably not even college. The structures and the attitudes are probably going to be similar. But gradually, things will change. And for those of you who struggle today, for those of you who feel ashamed of your differences in the way that you think, my message to you today is, it is not you who is broken. You have unique gifts that are waiting to be discovered. And the world right now needs you, because we are dealing with very complex problems, and these complex problems need different kinds of minds and different kinds of ideas to come together and find solutions. And companies like Apple, Google, and many others have seen this, and right now they have already started creating neurodiversity hiring initiatives and bring different kinds of talents together. So I know that eventually the whole world is going to catch up with them. But until then, our impact illuminated can be in our everyday lives. We can create opportunities for everyone to shine and embrace and love differences. We can do this with our children at home. We can do this with our students in the classroom. We can do this with our colleagues at work. And we can speak up every chance that we get. Thank you.